You sat down to study. You open the book, you read maybe half a page, and then you picked up your phone. You don't even remember doing it. It just appeared in your hand, like some kind of cursed magic trick. 1 second you're reading about mitochondria, the next you're 14 reels deep watching a guy pressure wash a driveway, and then you catch yourself. You put the phone down, you go back to the book, you read another 2 sentences, and what happens? You pick up the phone again. At this point, you start questioning yourself. Why can't I just focus? What's wrong with me? Am I just not smart enough? And here's where most people land. I need to train my brain harder. I need to activate more of it. Push through, use more brain power. That's what we were taught, right? Movies like Lucy and Limitless told us we only use 10% of our brain. If we could just unlock the rest, boom, superhuman focus, unlimited intelligence. Self-help books say the same thing. Activate more of your brain. Even some neuroscientists have repeated it. More brain equals sign better brain. Simple math, except it's completely wrong. Here's a fun fact that ruined my week. There is a medical condition where 100% of the brain's neurons fire at the same time. Every single region activates simultaneously. Full power. Nothing held back. Sounds incredible, right? Do you know what doctors actually call it? An epileptic seizure. Yeah. Sit with that for a second. The result of total brain activation isn't genius. It isn't superpowers. It's a complete loss of consciousness. Your body convulses. Your mind shuts off. The lights don't turn on, they short circuit. So that focus problem you have, that feeling of your brain being all over the place, that's not because you're using too little of your brain. It might be because you're using too much. Okay, so let me show you something that changed how I think about all of this. Back in 1988, a neuroscientist named Richard Hayer slid people into a brain scanner and watched what happened while they solved problems. And what he found kind of broke the entire more equal sign better model. Here's the easiest way to picture it. Imagine your brain is a house. You give two people a simple math problem and scan their brains. In the average brain, it's like every room in the house lights up. Kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, hallway, everything's on. Looks super busy. Looks like it's grinding. But the highly intelligent brain? Only the study lights up. One room. Everything else stays dark. Now here's where it gets really cool. Make the problem brutally hard. Like even the smart brain is sweating hard. What happens? The smart brain adapts. It turns on the conference room, flips the switch in the lab. But, and this is the key, the bedroom, the kitchen, the bathroom, still completely dark. It only fires up exactly the rooms it needs. No wasted energy. And the average brain? All its lights were already on for the easy problem. Nowhere left to go. No backup power. So what happens? The circuits overload. Rooms start going dark. Not by choice, but because the system crashes. The brain gives up. Scientists call this the neural efficiency hypothesis. And over 50 studies in the last 3 decades have confirmed it. The smarter the brain, the less it fires. I'll say that again because it sounds insane. The smarter the brain, the less it fires. Okay, hold on to that house, because now we're going to walk through your front door. Remember the beginning of this video, where I described you sitting down to study and picking up your phone without thinking? Let's talk about what was happening in your brain at that exact moment. When you had the textbook open, and your messages, and Instagram and 3 browser tabs. You called that multitasking. Maybe you were even a little proud of it. I'm good at doing multiple things at once. Yeah, your brain literally cannot multitask. Physically impossible. What it actually does is called task switching, rapidly bouncing back and forth between tasks. And every single switch costs you. Performance drops on both tasks. But here's the part that really messes with your head. Your brain activation goes up. More rooms light up in the house. Not because you're working harder, because the system is confused. It doesn't know which room to be in, so it turns all of them on. Sound familiar? That's the average brain from the house metaphor. All lights on, no reserve power, one hard task away from crashing. Stanford researchers tested people who called themselves expert multitaskers. The result? They were significantly worse at one specific thing: filtering out irrelevant information. The skill they were most proud of was actively destroying the skill they needed most. And short-form video? Even worse. TikTok, Reels, Shorts. Every swipe forces a hard task switch. Every 15 seconds, your brain abandons one topic and boots up a new one. It feels amazing. Your brain feels electric, alive, stimulated. But zoom out. What you're actually training is the muscle of distraction, not focus. You're practicing being scattered thousands of times a day and wondering why you can't read a single page without reaching for your phone. So here's the opposite. Here's what happens when everything goes right. You know this feeling. Maybe it happened while you were writing or coding or playing music or running. Time just disappeared. That annoying voice in your head. What if I'm wrong? What if they judge me? Is this good enough? Suddenly went silent. And you weren't just focused. You were gone. Completely absorbed. Like the rest of the world stopped existing for a while. Psychologists call that state flow. And when neuroscientists scanned people in flow, they found two things that should honestly change how you think about performance forever. First, a brain region called the DLPFC shuts down. Fancy name, simple job. It's your inner critic. The part that makes you hesitate, second guess, overthink. That voice stopping you from raising your hand even when you know the answer. In flow, that voice doesn't get quieter. It gets killed. Second, all your brain's energy gets funneled into one specific area, whichever one your task needs. Math? Math circuits fire. Music? Motor and auditory circuits fire. Everything else goes dark. And here's my favorite study ever. In 2008, researchers Lim and Braun wanted to prove this, but you can't exactly play piano inside an MRI machine. So what did they do? They built one. They custom-engineered a non-magnetic keyboard that could be played lying inside a scanner. They slid jazz pianists in and watched. When the musicians played a memorized piece, inner critic fully on, watching every note. But the moment they switched to improvisation, critic shut off. Only the circuits for self-expression lit up. Think about those moments in your life when you felt most alive. Time vanished, anxiety evaporated. You were completely, effortlessly absorbed. That wasn't your brain firing on all cylinders. That was your brain at its quietest dot. So now you're thinking, okay, I get it. Quiet brain equals sign good. But how? How do I make my brain quiet? And the answer is kind of annoyingly simple. You don't. You don't make your brain quiet. You can't willpower your way into it. You can't discipline yourself into flow. That's like trying to fall asleep by concentrating really hard on falling asleep. It doesn't work. It makes it worse. A psychologist named Mihail Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying flow. And he found that getting into it comes down to one single variable: the balance between how hard the task is and how skilled you are. If the task is too easy, your brain gets bored. It starts wandering. Random rooms in the house light up. Suddenly you're thinking about what to eat for dinner, that embarrassing thing you said 3 years ago, whether you left the stove on. The house fills with noise. If the task is too hard, your brain panics. Anxiety floods in. Every room blazes at once, not strategically, but desperately. The house is on fire again. But when the difficulty sits right at the edge of your ability, hard enough to stretch you, but not hard enough to break you, your brain flips the switch automatically. Unnecessary rooms go dark, energy concentrates, and you slip into flow without even trying. So next time you sit down and can't focus, don't blame yourself. Don't blame your willpower. Ask a different question. Is this too easy or too hard? Adjust the difficulty. Your brain will handle the rest. And there's a second way your brain gets quieter. Not through conditions, through raw repetition. Every time you repeat an action, your brain wraps the active neural pathway in a substance called myelin. Think of it like electrical tape being wound around a wire. Once that insulation is in place, the signal gets up to 100 times faster. And as the main circuit gets faster and louder, the surrounding noisy circuits just fade out. They become unnecessary. The brain shuts them off. You felt this. Think about the first time you tried to drive a car. Your brain was screaming. Every pedal, every mirror, every lane change. You had to consciously think about all of it. Every room in the house was on fire. But now, you drive while having a conversation, while thinking about your day. Your hands and feet just know. You don't think about it anymore. That's not because you got smarter. It's because repetition wrapped those wires so thick that nothing else could compete. The brain went quiet. Not because you forced it, but because there was nothing left to be loud about. It's like walking through your house at the end of the day and turning off lights in rooms you don't need anymore, until all that's left is one room. And that room burns brighter than it ever has. We grew up believing the brain is a machine, that maxing it out is the goal. That more activation means more intelligence, more creativity, more power. But that was never how it worked. The smartest brains are the quietest ones. The most powerful moments of your life, the ones where you felt truly alive, happened when the fewest parts of your brain were active. And the path there isn't about forcing yourself to focus. It's not about willpower. It's not about grinding harder. It's about finding the right challenge and repeating it until your brain strips away everything that doesn't matter. So the next time you sit down and your brain won't shut up, don't try to turn it on louder. Learn what to turn off.